Hello and welcome to my video today. I've been following some people that have had problems with the door handles on their car. Not really the door handle here, but the actual pull section. So this is the area where you need to open and close the door. And I have seen some people posting some images where this plastic has been rubbing off and disintegrating along this edge here. I did see somebody come up with a solution of using some rubber trim to cover this area, and they were supposed to come out with a solution they were going to sell, but that was several months ago and I haven't heard anything from them. So I figure I might as well do some experimenting myself. So that's what I'm going to be talking about today. I have a solution for the door pull, and this can be applied to all four doors if you wish. I'm going to show you what I used and give you some of the measurements so that you can do it yourself. So let's get started. I purchased a variety of rubber trim pieces that have like a U shape to them. As you can see, this is what it looks like from the end. So I'll give you a couple examples right here. So this is the smallest one. This was a medium size. And then I also got one that was thicker. I don't have any unused pieces of this one left. I have modified this one for the installation, but as you can see, this one is even wider than the other two. So basically this one's about a 1/2 inch in width, and these come in a number of different lengths, and that's what I'm going to show in the car coming up. Is the length of this depends on how you want it to look, and it's kind of a personal choice on how you want to do it. So I basically experimented with the different shapes and found that this one here worked the best because it gave the best coverage over the entire pull. So when you grab onto the handle, you're grabbing mostly the rubber trim and not the handle itself. So this gives the most protection. So let's go to the car and I'll show you what it looks like. So this is what it looks like installed in the car. It goes from the end here, which I kind of curved around to match the edge of the door trim. And then it goes all the way along here up until this area around the handle. You could make it go all the way to the end here if you want a consistent look all along this. But I just did my test right by the handle area. So when you pull the handle, you can see it doesn't interfere with it. You probably could cut it to this area. On the passenger side, I did a test also, and I ended it around here, and it worked pretty well too. But if you want, you could have this go all along the edge. It's not a big deal. One of the issues I had with installing this rubber trim is you can't use the U shape without modifying it, because there's areas along the back side of this where the rubber trim will not fit into. And especially at the end, I have to cut things off right here. So I'll show you what that looks like when I pull this up and I show it on my workbench. But basically, I have to cut this area here so that it's flat. This area from here to about right here, I have a small section of it that is trimmed so it fits into this gap right here. And on the passenger side, for some reason, the gap is thicker than this side. So I have a different design for the passenger side. And I don't know if it's just natural variation in production. So I'll show both methods that I used for the doors. Then around this area here, it is only using from here to where it ends. It's only using this very thin edge of it. And when I pull it up, I'll show you what that looks like. So if I remove this here, I'll show you the edge, see how I trim that so it fits. And then I still have that U shape along here, but I had to trim it to about half the thickness of the original, since both of these sides were the same length when I started. And as you can see, it's about up to this area here where I actually had to trim the actual U shape, so it's just basically an angle. So it's this side here that you see, and then the top, and then there's no U shape on this side. So I'll take this off here. It's actually pretty easy to remove and put back on. And then you can see here, it's just this, basically an L shape instead of a U shape for the remainder. So if you wanted this to go all the way up to the end, you would just do the same thing and just extend it another foot or so. All right, I have both of the rubber trim strips. The driver's side is on top and the passenger side is on the bottom. Ignore the length difference. They could be the exact same length. It really doesn't matter, since this has basically been an experiment to see if this was even feasible on the car. So if I turn this over on this side, you'll see that, like I showed you, the end that goes to the front of the car is basically an L shape, about half the length of this. And then from here to here, it's just a reduced thickness for the U shape. And then at the very end, about an inch or so, I had to just trim everything so that it would lay flat on the door trim area. Now, comparing that to the passenger side, these ends are pretty similar. Doesn't really matter how you cut this. It could be straight across or an angle. Doesn't really matter. And then you'll see where they meet up here. They both have the section now that is flat, and then that can continue. This one I ended right where the door handle hinges, and then this one I had to go a little bit further. And like I mentioned, you can have this going another foot longer if you wish. Just depends on how much of this trim that you purchase. And if you do purchase it, I would recommend getting a decent amount if you want to do all 4 of the doors. I'll give you some measurements and information a little bit later. So that's basically the design. It's not exactly rocket science. I kind of just did the trim here so that it would fit, and it does pretty well. And like I mentioned, the driver's side was a little bit harder to get this into than the passenger side, but it's pretty much the same thing. And you may have to adjust the thickness of this if your door handle area is a tighter fit between the trim pieces. You may have to reduce the height of this area along here. But pretty much, as you can see, this one's about, for the passenger side, I kept about 3/4 of the thickness of it. I'm guessing about half is pretty good. It gives enough coverage so it stays in place, but not too much that it sticks out or causes a problem. So that's basically what it looks like. So just rubber trim pieces. I've only seen these in black. I guess you can purchase these in clear, but I don't know what they'll look like with the, if you already have damage on the door pulls, putting clear over it's not going to help, and you'll see the damage underneath. However, if your car is in good condition with the handles, you could get the clear version of these and install that instead. But I figure the black pretty much blends in with anything, even if you have the blue interior like I do. There's a lot of blue and black mixed in there, so it's not a big deal. And if you have the totally black interior, the Abyss interior, this will look really good. It'll match it pretty well. So that's basically what I did on this experiment. So I'll give you the measurements and I'll show you how I did the installation on the passenger and driver side. So let's go to the car right now. I'll show you how I put these in. Okay, I'm on the passenger side right now, and Here is the trim piece. I find it, you could go either way. You can start on this side or this side. So I'm just going to start on this side. I just basically take the groove here and insert it along the trim piece and just kind of glide it along. And I'll just kind of push it all the way to the corner here. So it basically matches the end of the door trim area right here. And then I'll just push this in all along here. And the area here where it goes up, that's where you can push the trim piece in there. You may need a plastic pry bar, so let me show you what that looks like. You may need to separate the trim here so that it goes into the between the two trim pieces easier. So if I use that and then just kind of push it in there, it kind of goes into place. Another way of installing this is stretching the rubber. Since this is very stretchable, you can stretch it while pushing it in the gap between the trim. And then when you get up to the door handle area, you can pull the handle and we'll go under it and then just pull the trim. And this actually helps if it's a longer piece. And then just kind of stretch it and it kind of goes in the groove here. And like I mentioned, use the plastic pry bar if you're having issues getting it in there. All right, so the nice thing about this rubber trim is it's not too thick height-wise that it causes a problem with the door handle. As you can see, it easily moves back and forth and the trim doesn't move. So that's a good thing. And then just make sure that this is pulled all the way towards this way so that when you grab it, you're grabbing the rubber trim. So as you can see here, you can see that when I put my hand over it, I'm grabbing just the rubber trim part. And there we go. Oh, one thing, if you're not paying attention, like I just did, sometimes the end here may get pulled away from the corner, so I may have to adjust this a little bit. All right, so there we go. We have this fully installed and the trim goes all the way to the edge like so, and the door handle moves with no problem. So it's not the prettiest thing, but I think it's effective in that it provides a thick enough area that you can grab without further degrading the plastic that's underneath. So, yep, so this is the passenger side. Let me show you the driver's side now. Well, here we go. It's basically the same as the other side. I just take it so that I grab the groove section and kind of glide it along the inside here. And like I mentioned, it's a little bit tighter on this than the other side. So it's a little bit more work getting that in there. So now I can press it inside between the trim pieces. Just kind of guide it along. All right, so basically the channel goes up to here, and then the rest of this is just this L shape of the trim, and then I just kind of push that in here like so. I can pull the handle and then stretch the trim so that it goes into that opening there. push it all the way out. And like I mentioned, if you're having problem like this area right here, just kind of use the plastic pry bar to wedge here this inside. All right, so now it is installed. And like I mentioned, if you do want it to go all the way to the corner over here, you could do that. It's not a problem. So let me give you a close-up view now. So here's the corner. It's curved to match the trim, and that goes all the way along here. And this is basically the area where you're grabbing for the most part. Anywhere from here to here is the convenient place. And then this goes all the way under the handle. And I'll show you the handle here. You can see it's not affecting the trim. And then it goes all the way up to here. So overall, it seems like a pretty easy way of protecting the door handle area. Here I installed the same piece that I put in the front driver's seat into the left door just behind it. And as you can see, it pretty much fits the same as it did up there. The doors in the front are a few inches longer. I'll give the total measurements in a little bit. But you can use the same design for the rear as the front. So I have the driver's side piece right here. We'll start from the edge. So from here to where the U-shaped section starts is roughly 2 centimeters. And then this U-shaped section here that I trimmed about to half height, from here to the end right here is roughly 27 centimeters. And then from here to the end, where I have it trimmed so it's just L-shaped, is roughly 22 centimeters. So this may actually be a lot longer if you go to the end of the door. So if you want to go the entire length of the front door, that length is 88 centimeters. If you want to do the rear door, that is 76 centimeters. So just about 4.5 inches or so shorter. And you can use pretty much the same design for the ends here. This middle section length is going to be the same for the front and the rear doors. And then just the length from here to the end is going to be different between the front and the rear. And then you're just going to do the opposite mirror image if you're doing the right side of the car. So just basically take this and flip it over to do that side. All right, that should about do it for the measurements for installing these in your car. Rough estimate is you're going to need about 11 to 12 feet of this rubber trim. So when you order it, make sure you get about that much to do all 4 of the doors. If you just want to do the front 2 doors, 6 feet should be plenty. I'll have the link in the video description if you want to purchase some of these from Amazon. As I said, the numbers that I'm giving you for the measurements are kind of rough. You may need to fine-tune them to your particular vehicle. But in any case, I think this greatly helps reduce the wear and tear on the door pulls on the front and rear doors of the car. And if you currently have damage on those door pulls, this will cover the damage and you won't see it. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.